Hello, viewers. Welcome to our next episode of Sandy Wars, our video series on military and strategic affairs. Today, once more, we come back to Ladakh, but this time we come with a completely different perspective. It's about the sustainability and maintainability of our troops and equipment in those conditions in high winter. And for that, we have someone eminently qualified to discuss this. Major General Yashmore, Sena Medal, recently retired from the Indian Army last September, who has the unique qualification of being the first GOC in command of the Leh sub-area, which looks after the entire Ladakh territory in terms of support and logistics. He will tell us what exactly are the implications of a winter deployment in those areas, and once we appreciate that, perhaps the way forward will become more clear. Over to Major General Yashmore.
Thank you, Sandeep. It's a pleasure talking to you and talking to other people who listen to your, podcast or this particular video. It's such a pleasure to speak about Ladakh. I'm very emotionally connected to Ladakh. This was my second tenure in Ladakh. I also commanded my unit in 2000 in the same area when there is to be only one mechanized infantry unit in the entire Ladakh sector. So I have this was second tenure, and I was posted as the first GOC of this headquarter, Leh sub-area, though it's responsible for entire Ladakh. This actually headquarter is a strategic administrative headquarter responsible for op logistics for the entire Ladakh region. And the need for this headquarter came up after the 1999 Kargil War, where the Indian Army, fought a bloody battle on the heights of around Kargil, Dras and Batalik. So they felt there was no headquarter ahead of Srinagar, and Ladakh is a vast area, and very difficult terrain. There's no headquarter which can manage the administration, which can manage the operational logistics. And here we have heights ranging right up to 18,000, 20,000 feet. We have the Siachen glacier, which is part of Ladakh. Then we have Eastern Ladakh, Western Ladakh, very low, very poor road connectivity and very, very high passes, which can get cut off any time due to heavy snowfall. So there was this need, though it took very long time to get the approvals and other things. But finally, this headquarter came up and I was posted as the first general officer commanding. So I felt that, if there is a requirement of op logistics, of administration, most important is in this area because it gets cut off for almost 6 months.
Sir, we had a very specific query from you, sir, because you would be the right person to address that for our viewers. You see, we have been doing several episodes on Sandy Wars and on behalf of India Sentinels on the situation at Ladakh. We have taken our viewers at length through the different patrolling points, their locations, all the different versions on Chinese and PLA incursions in these areas, the Indian riposte in the Kailash range on 30th of August, the implications. But what do we do now, sir? This is high winter and we are facing general winter. All that is good, but then please tell us what happens to the Indian Army boys posted there now.
See, the winter in Ladakh is very unforgiving. It is harsh, it is desolate area, it is bone-chilling cold. And generally in winters, the strength available in Ladakh is much less because operations can't be launched by anyone. And so a large amount of troops during this period are on leave or on R&R, rest and recoupment. But this time, because of the crisis, because of the aggression and belligerent shown by China in April and May, we have large amount of troops, you're aware, who have been inducted into the, Chushul Valley and north and south of Pengong Tso. Now the challenge is that a lot of equipment has gone there. The tanks were never as close as what they are today. As far as unconfirmed reports say, tanks are all along the Kailash range. And at places they are just about 20 meters apart from each other against the Chinese men as well as tanks and BMPs. And they're fully loaded. Now to put humans and equipment in this kind of a winter where, this has never been done earlier. Even tanks, guns, missile systems, opto-electronic fiber, equipment, the radars and all, they require heating. require special maintenance. And these are not, this is not a temperatures and terrain where this equipment can perform at its optimum. That is one part. And you can't even do any major repair or major assembly repairs there. You can only do little bit of repairs because it's too cold and very difficult to move any, major assembly. Let's say a tank engine's going off, you just can't replace it there. That is one part. The other part that we can handle. The other part is the human resource. For men to stay here is very, very difficult because there are no habitation, no bunkers, at least on Kailash range. All our holdings in the Chushul sector are behind, where we have habitation and for the number of people, those who are holding defenses. But now we have much more. So creation of habitation for these people, creating heating system for them, getting special clothing for them, which been a absolutely fantastic effort by Indian Army and the logisticians to clothe all these people in special clothing, which is very, very good. But still, to live on these kind of heights where oxygen is very less and large number of medical issues are there as it is in winters. But this year, the number of heart attacks, hypertension cases, HAPO, and the high altitude edema kind of things, frostbites, chill planes, and loneliness of staying in those places where even mobile networks at least were not there a few months back. It may have come up, but still to get data and the ability to speak home, and there's isolation, and then fear of operations could start anytime. And so this is where the real challenge lies, to keep humans and the equipment in a state where they can fight a war.
So what will happen after the winter is over? So we would have a huge degradation of equipment and a lot of damage in the human resource.
Yes, equipment is going to take a beating, but we are a big army, big nation. I think that should not be much of a problem. But the hit we are going to take on human resource, the people who are, who fall sick, get evacuated, some of them, it's very difficult to recover back. So we may have large amount of low medical categories, large amount of people who need medical attention for most of their lifespan now onwards. So that is why my take is that there has been too much of delay in decision making. The situation on ground is that after the last Corps commanders meeting, people were prepared. At least the first what, at least that let the tanks go back, let the main artillery go back, let this all fall back, and then we can start pulling back slowly foot so infantry. But that hasn't taken place. And now what it looks like to me, that we are in for a long stay there, the entire winter. That will be quite criminal. So I feel that sector to sector, right from New Delhi and Beijing must now give back initiative to sector commanders. Let the sector commanders, the divisional commanders come into play, and military to military, let's try and resolve at least sector wise and pull back, because this LAC has not seen a firefight since 21st November 1962, when the Battle of Rezangla finished. After that, no bullet has been fired here. Now to keep troops here, convert this peaceful line of actual control to something like a LC on the Pakistan front will be, I think, not in India's interest, and certainly not in China's interest also. So therefore, we must take back the initiative and try and resolve this issue so that main equipment and troops can fall back at least up to the Ladakh range.
So the viewers might want to know that if Indian Army can maintain troops at Siachen round the year and for decades, then how is it different in Eastern Ladakh this time?
See, maintenance of Siachen started in 1984. And now it's been almost 36 years we've been there. And the amount of troops is much less. And we have been able to create the infrastructure there for them. And they just stay there for, the rotation is so quick that it's 3 to 6 months maximum they stay. But here these troops have come from planes. You have heavy equipment, you have tanks, you have guns, you have BMPs on these heights. And the quantum of troops is much larger. And so you really can't compare the Siachen, situation here. Siachen is isolated. This is vast area, and there's no end. Skirmish can start anywhere. If they did in north of Pengong, so we have done a QPQ south of Pangong Tso. Now will we open up another front, or will Chinese show aggression somewhere else? So this can become a never-ending situation, which is not in interest of both the armies to be deployed in such a manner in this place.
So 20 meters distance, you were saying, if a tank is facing another tank at 20 meters distance, I mean, anything can go wrong at any point in time.
Yes,
By
yes, absolutely. And these are tanks with missiles and main gun ammunition loaded. And along with tanks, we have infantry combat vehicles which have the anti-tank missiles loaded. And these missiles, because there's, it can malfunction anytime. So any accidental discharge of a main gun or a missile or anything like that can cause a skirmish or a contact battle to start anytime. And this has never been done. Even with Pakistan, we've never had tanks face each other. It is just eyeball to eyeball infantry operations. Our A vehicles are little behind.
So during Parakram, we had enormous casualties, completely non-battle, without a shot being fired, and of course, damaged equipment and strain on men and material. So, are we going to see something like that this time? And much worse, maybe because it's winter and because of the terrain?
Yeah, that's my worry. Hopefully it is only in the Chushul sector that we have this kind of a deployment, and doesn't we have a long, LAC with China. I hope it doesn't open up in some other place. But Prakram was all over the Western theater, and the more casualties we got in Prakram was because of anti-mining operations, demining and mining operations. Here, thankfully, that situation is not there. Here we are going to have casualties because of weather, because of high altitude, and winter just set in mid-November. Passes are closed. Even if you are able to, put in all our best, still there are troops who are in tentage. There is equipment out in open. This vagaries of nature will have a great bearing on us.
So, if equipment is out in open, and we know how metal behaves in extreme temperatures, and their lubricants, and the actions, of artillery and automatic weapons, then suppose something happens, would they be effective? If they really got to open up, would they be effective?
See, as it is, Sandeep, in these high altitudes, the capability of every machine is brought down by about 60%. You name any machine, whether it's automatic weapon systems or engine systems or radar systems or UAVs or your signal communication high tech equipment, is brought down by 50 to 60% capability. Now require the amount of charging you require, the batteries go off. The main problem there is you have insufficient sunlight. You can use the solar panels and all, but the connections, the batteries, they are unable to hold charge. So there is this part on equipment, how it behaves, the ranges, the accuracy of the equipment to perform is really doubtful.
So if we disengage, and if the sector commanders or subsector commanders, if they decide to give up territory, what then?
See, there is no question of giving up territory. China is trying to willy-nilly come back to the 1959 claim line, which is not acceptable to us. So the LAC that we have had right from independence and then 1962, that is what we are requesting, or that is what is our bargaining, is to go back and have a status quo ante as of April 2019. But sector wise, I'm sure we can talk military to military, pull back and have some kind of a very, because now there's a trust deficit. We just can't trust each other. Especially China can't be trusted with the way they have behaved. They have never done this, but this kind of a behavior which they did in Galwan, then they kept moving in from finger 8 to finger 4 in Depsang Plains, Hot Springs, and those areas. So they can't be trusted. But I'm sure we had wonderful relations on a military to military with them for so many years. With change of commanders on both sides, there can be slowly trust can be built, and we can start pulling back. At least A vehicles and bulk of the troops must come back slowly, and still have a mechanism to verify each other's claim lines.
I'm saying, so he was suggesting that even if we don't pull back troops or don't retreat en masse, at least the A vehicles can be pulled back and the F echelon fighting vehicles can be pulled back. So there is some amount of de-escalation, right, of risk.
Yes, we have to de-escalate. See, between India and China, we don't want a situation of India-Pakistan there. You are actually playing into the hands of Pakistan if you do that. They would be very happy. And you see, recently the Chinese military has become very aggressive. The Chinese defense minister, who's a serving general, visited Nepal, Bangladesh, and Pakistan uh, very recently, bypassing India. So there is chances of Pakistan helping them or supporting them, or or China doing it at behest of Pakistan. One doesn't know, but we have to de-escalate. We have to try and talk to the PLA at the ground level, while the diplomats and the political leadership also needs to get its act together and get back to talking table and try and remove this scene of trust deficit that is there.
Can we then end up with a scenario where heavy equipment is pulled back and nominal forces which are maintainable and sustainable then are kept there from both sides? Is that the optimum outcome?
Yeah, that will be a stage. The next stage can be, we have smaller small section of people holding important passes and important features, and these can be maintained and they can be sustained also. There is no issue. But more than that, we need technologically approved verification systems on the LAC. Today you have the technology to see who is where, and that kind of more meetings, maybe starting from battalion commanders to sector commanders and military to military, we talk it out and start from one side. By being obstinate on trying to meet larger interests, that is why a lot of drafts of disengagement have been going from Chushul to Delhi and back, and same thing must be happening the other side. And it's sad that we have got into this situation.
Unfortunately, it's a larger interest of people who are not present there.
Yes,
So when
exactly. And they are busy. Those people are busy in other political activities. People who have to take decisions. So I think we have decision making has been our one of our problem areas. And the other area, Sandeep, I was speaking to you, was why do we get into a situation like this? A progressive nation with so much of technology available to us. Why are we so poor in ISR, intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance? Why are we having again a situation? Why are we caught napping every time? This is
repeatedly,
something we have to ask ourselves.
repeatedly.
Repeatedly, this we have to ask ourselves. And large amount of studies have taken place. The Kargil Review Committee report is a strategic document available for people to read, where this interagency coordination, establishment of a headquarter where all agencies talk to each other. Still there are we overlap, but we just don't know what the enemy's intentions are. We come to know much later. So April, May, we were totally caught napping, and we had no idea of what Chinese were planning to do. We had no idea what troops they had amassed the other side. This speaks very poorly about our intelligence, military, as well as civil intelligence agencies.
So let us hope that better sense prevails. Let us hope that voices like yours are heard where it matters. And sanity prevails on the LAC. And we spare a thought about our boys who are actually over there while we sit here talking. And maybe there can be some positive developments if words like yours are taken into consideration seriously, sir. Thanks a lot for being with us and enlightening our viewers, sir. We are really grateful to you as a nation.
Thank you, Sandeep. Thank you very much. And hopefully things will get resolved. Jai Hind.
Jai Hind, sir.